Hey everybody, it's KC here. So it's FallBack Friday once again on Morning Newsbeat. So the video I'm going to show you today was actually recorded in December of 2006. I was in Japan and I was doing a piece about Aeon, A-E-O-N, the largest food retailer in Japan. And we were looking at a superstore that they were running called Jusco, J-U-S-C-O. I'm going to let you watch it. I have to say, when I rewatched this thing, I was amazed by some of it, and so I'm going to have some thoughts at the end. So enjoy my piece about Aeon. This was recorded once again in December of 2006. Enjoy. Aeon is a $38 billion global retailing entity that also is Japan's largest supermarket chain, owning and operating superstores and convenience stores there. As we found out when we traveled to Tokyo, size doesn't have to be a barrier to transparency, which seems to be a central tenet of the Aeon approach to food safety. When we spoke to Yasuhiro Sasagawa, General Manager of Aeon's Customer Services Department, he told us that food safety is the most important element of Aeon's business, that customers demand a high level of accountability, and that to be relevant and responsive, Aeon must provide information in an easy-to-understand way. Look around this giant Jusco superstore and you'll see monitors in numerous locations, telling shoppers about the foods they're buying in almost extreme detail. You don't have to pay attention, but it's there if you want it. And that kind of transparency is by itself reassuring to shoppers. Each store has a quality control person who is responsible for working the fresh food aisles, making sure that displays and temperatures are right, as well as training personnel on a regular schedule or more often if needed. When we sat down with Aeon's senior management, they explained to us that comprehensive training is provided to all employees at least once a year, with separate programs developed for various areas of the business. This is a terrific way to make sure that food safety isn't a program relegated to a dusty binder that sits on a shelf somewhere. Employees are constantly engaged and made responsible in the food safety process. It is a symbol of that engagement that 3 times a day, at 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and then again at 7 p.m., the company's jingle sounds and virtually everybody who works in the store emerges from the back room and works the aisles and the cases. This is clean time, and it's a tradition at Aeon where the goal is to make sure that everything is right all the time. There is a sense here at Aeon of the circle being completed, that it is critically important for the customer to be part of the food safety loop. It is evident in each of the fresh departments and equally so here at the front end. For example, at the meat counter, people can, in addition to printing out recipes, use a monitor to gain access to information about where a product comes from, see confirmation that it has passed all its BSE tests.
The result of the test in this center shows that the BSE is negative.
Learn what the animal was fed as it was growing up, and even see a picture and read a biography of the meat supplier. Virtually every cut of meat carries a code number, whether it be Japanese bred beef and pork, Tasmanian beef, Australian beef and pork, or a wide number of other products from Mexico, Spain, and the United States. Note, however, that while the ban on U.S. beef has been lifted by the Japanese government, you won't find any American beef here. Aeon management believes that its customers just don't trust U.S. testing procedures for mad cow disease, and they won't be carrying U.S. beef for the foreseeable future. In produce, there's something called a QR tag that allows customers to take a picture of the tag with their cell phones and then instantly connect with the internet and Aeon's website, where the QR tag image is processed. Almost immediately, customers can get detailed information about where and how the produce was grown, including, once again, biographical information about the farmer who grew the item. This is the 21st century equivalent of what Ireland Superquinn has been doing for decades, having signs with just this kind of information posted in the fresh foods departments of its stores. Technology makes more and better information available instantly, and Aeon is taking advantage of the fact that its customer base is highly conversant with technological solutions. It is transparency and traceability in the extreme, but it is critically important to maintaining a level of trust with Japanese consumers, who tend to demonstrate a high level of concern about germs and disease. This is a place where avian flu and noroviruses are very much on people's minds, and where it isn't unusual to see people in stores and on the streets wearing surgical masks to prevent the spread of disease. Customer Services Manager Nobuo Shibuya told us that Japanese customers are extremely concerned about the pesticides used on fresh produce and the feed that is given to cows. This is what they want to know, he said, and Aeon is prepared to live up to its responsibility in this area.
So as our corporate philosophy says, our mission is safe, reliable, and honest.
Now, it's important to point out here that the QR tag system has marketing as well as food safety implications. It's only available for Aeon's private label produce line, called Green Eye, and so this offers a differential advantage for the company's own label. In addition, similar information is available for products where Aeon requires its vendors to provide specific details about products such as soy sauce. Kuniaki Miyachi, Vice President of Quality Control for Aeon, told us that the company doesn't just say that soybeans are used to make soy sauce, but goes all the way back to determine where and how the soybeans were grown. And it consistently audits its vendors' production lines to make sure that they're living up to their responsibilities. On a variety of levels, these are food safety systems that are totally cool. Although we're told that in Japanese the correct word would be kakui. Still, this isn't all there is to the Aeon food safety system. We spoke in an earlier segment about how Shangri-La Hotels has educated salespeople to understand the importance of food safety, because it's salespeople who are dealing with customers on a regular basis. In essence, the same thing occurs at Aeon, where even the front-end personnel understand food safety basics. If the checkout folks see that a customer is buying something that ought to be chilled for the trip home so the item won't lose integrity, they direct the customer to a nearby ice machine and suggest that they use it. That's a tremendously powerful image and reinforces the notion that customers have a role in the food safety continuum. Now, this isn't to suggest that customers see everything that goes on in the food safety arena at Aeon. The rules in the back room are exceedingly strict, whether it comes to hand washing, which has to be done with alcohol as well as soap and water, or taking off one's boots before going to the bathroom. Furthermore, anyone who deals with fresh food has to provide a stool sample at least once a month. If they have any sort of infectious disease, they're taken off the line immediately and not allowed back on until they pass a subsequent test. Rather than causing employees to complain about an invasion of their privacy, which would almost certainly be the case in other countries and cultures, Aeon has gotten its staffers to understand that this is a health benefit. It is good for food safety, it is good for customers, and it's good for the employees, who are provided with a high level of health care in exchange for their willingness to be frank about their personal circumstances. It is a remarkable system that we found in Japan, but we were most impressed by the notion that customers share in the responsibility for food safety, and that given the proper tools and information, they are capable and willing to handle those duties. If indeed the food safety continuum is a circle or a chain, the customer must be part of it for the system to be truly effective. Well, hello again. So that piece was actually recorded, if my memory serves, for the 2007 CIES Food Safety Conference. And so, which is one of the reasons we were able to get access to Aeon, and they were very, very cooperative. The thing that amazes me watching that even now is the high level of transparency they had. Even then, I mean, this is pre-smartphones, right? That was clearly the first time I'd ever seen a QR code. And it was extraordinary, the degree to which they were providing information about the products they were selling in store. And I have to say, I don't think most stores do that today. And they were doing this so long ago. One of the things I remember, and it's not really in the story, is I was having a conversation with somebody at Eon about this. And I said, well, how many people use the system of finding out who grew the tomatoes or, where the meat came from? And they said about 5%. And I remember saying, oh my God, 5%, it seems horrible. So few people use it. And they looked at me and said, well, Kevin, you don't understand. Something I hear a lot. And they said, basically, the fact that only 5% of our customers use it means that 95% of our customers trust us. It's absolutely okay. The fact that we have it there engenders a level of trust among 95% of our consumers, and that's a positive thing. And again, I think this is a lesson for every retailer, right? People like to say, oh, come on, we'll provide all this transparency. People don't really care about it. They may care about it, doesn't mean they're going to access it. But the fact that companies are transparent about this kind of information is hugely important. I also think it was one of the things that I'm reminded of when I watch this story is that, as I said, this is recorded in December of 2006. It's a long, long time ago. And the thing was, because Mrs. Content Guy was, had a full-time job at the time, and I had a looser schedule, let's say, I was able to do most of the Christmas shopping, but I was in Japan. And one of the things I discovered at that time was the degree to which I could use Amazon to place orders. And if my recollection is correct, I was using Amazon Prime because I realized I didn't have to I didn't have to bring lots of orders together. If I had an idea for something because I was an Amazon Prime member, I could actually place the order and then go on and do something else. And if I had an idea an hour later, I could do the same thing. And so I remember being on that trip, and that was the first time I really had a sense of the power of Amazon. And that was December of 2006. There's so much about that trip that I remember really, really fondly. It was one of two trips I took within about a 3-week period to Asia. One was to Singapore, one was to Japan, and because of the way the companies had their schedules, we couldn't do them at the same time. So we ended up having to go separately. It was kind of crazy. But a fascinating trip, and I learned a lot about transparency. I learned a lot about customer trust, and I learned a lot about Amazon. Go figure. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. I hope you enjoyed FallBack Friday. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.